Can you think of situations when practicing gratitude can actually be harmful to you and even to others? In fact, are you trying so hard to be grateful for what's happening in your life that you could be suffering some negative consequences? Well, I'd like to share 13 situations where gratitude can actually be labeled as toxic gratitude. Hi, I'm Gail Jervis, and welcome to Life After 65. I'm an avid reader and researcher, so I've decided that I'm going to use those particular skills and make it my mission to explore all the ways my husband and I can live healthier and happier and more fulfilling lives as we learn to redefine aging. I started this channel to share what I'm learning with anyone else who has the same goal. How often have you heard the comment, "You should be grateful for the good days you have and not focus on the bad ones"? Or when you share some of your challenges, have you been told, "Consider yourself lucky for the support system you have. Not everyone has that"? And there's nothing like a person who's never been sick a day in her life saying, "Try to find joy in the small victories and moments of relief from your pain." And of course, have you ever been told, "Remember, there are others who have it so much worse. Be grateful for what you still have"? Well, I've been chronically ill for almost 30 years now. I've pretty well heard every comment from well-meaning people who are meaning to be encouraging me. But to be honest, sometimes those simple platitudes about gratitude can be downright annoying. And worse, they can actually add guilt to what I'm experiencing already, my pain. When I may not be thankful for pain and for my lifestyle being turned upside down. If you've been chronically ill, I'll bet you've received those kinds of comments too. And if you have, please share them in the comments below. But it's my reactions to some of those comments that have caused me to wrestle with what we actually mean when we are told to be grateful. And in my research, I was relieved to discover that I am not alone when I don't feel I have to be thankful for my pain. In this episode, I'm going to give you at least 12 situations when gratitude can be toxic. Am I opposed to experiencing gratitude? Of course not. I'm a Christian. I trust a God who is sovereign over my life. But even Job in the Old Testament wasn't thankful for all the tough situations, all the losses that he was enduring. Do you think he was grateful when he suffered the death of his children, the loss of his wealth, and his own severe illness? Of course not. But Job was grateful for God's presence, God's justice, and even when he didn't understand the reasons for his suffering. In other words, there is authentic gratitude, but too often there is toxic gratitude. So let me share some situations that are examples of toxic gratitude. Number one is dismissing somebody's genuine struggles. Sometimes we're being told to be grateful, possibly because the person just wants to say something to us and maybe doesn't even really want to hear about our struggles and hardships. Or maybe the person believes it'll be better for the person she is visiting not to focus on her pain. Just be grateful for where you're at. Either way, it can be a quick way to shut down the sufferer's voice by reminding that person of all that they should be grateful. And yet, psychologists tell us that it's actually important to acknowledge our pain. A friend can be a better support by not dismissing that person's genuine struggles and instead ask, "I want to better understand what you're experiencing." Another toxic form of gratitude, suppressing negative emotions. If you want to appear as a thankful and grateful person, too often we may have to put on this facade of positivity and suppress our negative emotions. But could that facade of positivity actually be preventing emotional healing since we refuse to acknowledge and address our true feelings? We may be affecting our mental well-being when we choose not to process our genuine negative emotions. In fact, a study published in Emotion by Gross and John in 2003, they found that suppressing emotions can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and decreased psychological well-being. The third thing that happens if we're expressing toxic gratitude, invalidation of our personal experiences. Too often, when we're told to be grateful in our situation, and we know we don't feel grateful, we can end up feeling guilt and shame. A 2007 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, they concluded that gratitude that feels forced or inauthentic can actually impair genuine self-expression and self-awareness, which can lead to feelings of dissatisfaction. Therefore, rather than being told to be grateful, this person could be a better support by acknowledging your pain, rather than forcing that person to pretend she is grateful and pushing down the other emotions she might be feeling. Or there's a pressure to conform. We're inundated by people preaching gratitude, urging us, keep that gratitude journal. You'll probably even get healed if you keep using this gratitude journal. Well, how do we resist these societal expectations of gratitude? Even though we may be facing some really difficult circumstances, we may have to pretend to others and eventually to ourselves that we are still grateful. I mean, when does the person with the challenge get to put down her grateful facade and weep? Weep with a friend for what she has lost. Wouldn't that be nice? Just to have that friend come over and tears come in your eyes saying, I'm so sorry what you're going through, but I want to better understand what you're going through. Just tell me what's happening to you. This constant gratitude message prevents us from being authentic, able to express our range of emotions. Or we can overlook systemic issues. Excessive focus on personal gratitude might actually divert attention away from addressing and solving broader systemic issues or injustices, as it promotes an individual-centric perspective rather than a collective one. For example, if we focus only on being grateful for our opportunities, we got an education, so grateful we got an education, so grateful we got this great job, we could start neglecting or forgetting, or we are just not even aware of the inequities in society, why somebody else wasn't able to get that education, why somebody else wasn't able to get that good job. So we end up not advocating for changes in education or employment policies or poverty. If an individual is constantly expressing personal gratitude for healthcare access, they may ignore the need for broader healthcare reform so that everyone receives equitable health services. Or gratitude can be toxic if you feel obligated to be thankful for your circumstances. Now catch this. Even when someone intentionally harms or mistreats you, this gratitude can undermine the person's self-worth and perpetuate harmful behavior, as it suggests that, I guess I should, be grateful that I'm not being mistreated too badly. I mean, can you be grateful that your husband never hits you when he's drunk, but only, you know what, I am grateful though that he never really hurts me. I mean, yes, he throws a few things at me, but it's never landed on me. Or in situations of abuse, how often is the victim made to feel guilty since she should be grateful for her partner's love, even though he controls all of her actions? This kind of gratitude, psychologists say, can inadvertently normalize abusive behavior, as it implies that victims should be thankful even in situations that warrant condemnation and, most importantly, intervention. Even if you aren't in an abusive situation, but your relationship is not working for you, could this emphasis on, I should be grateful that he does come home on time for supper, and I'm grateful. No, you're just delaying the facts that you might need to leave an unhappy situation. Or 7, it can perpetuate unhealthy relationships. Toxic gratitude may cause individuals to remain in unhealthy relationships or situations by feeling obligated to be thankful despite negative circumstances. I had a friend, I don't see her very much anymore, but she ended up in a relationship, which is also why I don't see her as much anymore, where she felt compelled to say, you know what, I'm still grateful, even though he doesn't ever leave the house and look for a job. I'm still grateful because, he's nice to me in other ways. What? In the Journal of Positive Psychology, in a 2012 study, Lambert indicates that gratitude is beneficial when authentic, but otherwise it can lead to relational strain when it becomes a coerced or obligatory expression. Sadly for her, it came from her church. I hate to say that. I belong to a church that would never put that on her. But somehow she got entangled in a church that said, no, you remain in that household. You remain grateful. At some point he might have become a Christian if he just sees how thankful and grateful you always are. I was being taught toxic gratitude. Gratitude is not appropriate when you have been put into a situation where your boundaries are violated. For example, when you receive some unwanted advances or inappropriate comments, you don't need to be grateful that, it could have been worse. When someone shares something confidential without your permission, you don't need to be grateful like, I'm so grateful that she only told one other individual. No, it was just wrong. Or gratitude can be counterintuitive for a severely depressed person. If that person is encouraged to be grateful, especially for all that your family and friends have been doing for you, well, then her sense of gratitude could become twisted. She might even start thinking of horrible things like suicide because, oh my gosh, I can't be continually indebted to my family and friends because I just can't seem to get out of this depression anyways. I don't want to be a burden to these people. Or perhaps when this person has sunk into a terrible depression, what happens to her when she can't think of one thing she should be grateful for? She keeps hearing people come over and tell her, you're depressed, but there's some things that you could feel happy about. Well, as a result, this person's depression gets worse. Interestingly, one study revealed that when people wrote in their gratitude journal once per week, they actually were happier after 6 weeks than those people who wrote in their journal 3 times per week. Again, writing too often. You know what happens? You may eventually begin thinking, I can't think of anything else to be grateful for. My life maybe isn't that good. I can't think of anything more to add to my journal. Or we could end up downplaying our own successes through excessive gratitude. In other words, I'm just so grateful for everyone else's input. Yes, of course that's important. But if that means you're downplaying all the hard work that you did to ensure the success of the project, then it's not a healthy form of gratitude. There's a danger of actually hiding low self-esteem behind all this gratitude. Or you may feel forced to express gratitude when you don't feel grateful. For example, you received a gift that was bought without any thought of what you might like, and yet you feel like you should be grateful for the gift. If you continue to receive thoughtless gifts and still express gratitude, is that putting a little nick into your well-being? Your sense of well-being, that you still feel like I have to be grateful even though that person was really thoughtless toward me? Or sometimes we tell ourselves we should feel grateful that we have a job. We've got a job and we've got a steady income, even though you're not making enough to pay your bills, even though you hate going to that job. Or we tell ourselves, I'm grateful I've just got that job, even though you feel stressed every time you walk in through those doors. This is called shame-based gratitude. It's not called authentic gratitude. Whenever we compare ourselves to others in order to feel gratitude, that also is not authentic gratitude. For example, I've been ill for a lot of years, and how often I've been told, but at least you don't have what such and such has. Of course that's true. That's actually sometimes what I even have to deal with. I feel like, oh, my health doesn't mean I'm getting worse like some other diseases. My health means that I'm still sitting up. But my health also means that I don't have the same lifestyle choices that other people have. But as soon as other people encourage us to compare ourselves to other people who are far worse, it may be an attempt to make us feel better about ourselves, but it doesn't help us to see the positive in our lives. And by the way, if you are enjoying this episode, if you're getting something out of this episode, please consider subscribing. And if you do, please leave a comment below that you have subscribed so that I can thank you. Now, and also I'd like to add that I'd love to read comments by anyone about how they feel about authentic gratitude versus toxic gratitude. Since there's so many instances when we may not be expressing authentic gratitude, should we just scrap the discipline of gratitude? Of course not. But it does mean that we need to be more aware. Have we slipped into a toxic, unhealthy form of gratitude, or are we truly practicing authentic gratitude? Remember, whenever you feel pressure to suppress your genuine emotions, whenever you're told to appear, or whenever you feel like you have to appear happier and more optimistic, no matter your circumstances, you're responding to toxic positivity. Whenever you're feeling unheard, isolated, and misunderstood, as you feel compelled to express gratitude about your circumstances, you're responding to toxic positivity. Whenever someone tells you that you should just think positive or everything happens for a reason, you are experiencing toxic positivity. In other words, authentic gratitude shouldn't make you feel like you are suppressing your genuine emotions to such an extent that you're actually feeling a little bit disconnected from your own feelings. When someone says to you that you should always look on the bright side, you're not being heard. In fact, such comments force you into believing a different reality instead of validating the truth of what you are experiencing today, what you're experiencing in the moment. So what are some examples? What are some examples of practicing authentic gratitude? Well, it's when you acknowledge your difficult circumstances and then you find something to express gratitude. For example, I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm so grateful for my husband's constant support and encouragement. Or you might say, I'm terribly unhappy right now, but I am grateful for the resources I have to get myself out of this situation. Or when I feel like I can't get out of bed since I'm so depressed, I am grateful for that comfortable chair by the window. I'm grateful that when I get up, I can sit in that chair. Or you might say, I was so discouraged when I failed my exam, but I am so grateful my teacher said I could rewrite it. Or I'm in such a terrible mood because everything seems to be going wrong in my life, but I am grateful for my cozy blanket and my cozy pajamas while I watch these these comedies. Or I don't like being chronically ill, but I am grateful for the extra time I have to read and study. As you form your own statements of gratitude, notice that in an authentic gratitude, you can acknowledge the negative. And then just find that small positive to show gratitude. It's the opposite of toxic gratitude that forces you to ignore your pain in search of a silver lining, whether or not that silver lining actually exists. Please send me your comments below as we wrestle with authentic gratitude and toxic positivity. I'd like to conclude this episode with a quote from author Whitney Goodman from her book, Toxic Positivity. And she says, "Gratitude is the new toxic positivity. Gratitude slogans are the worst offenders of today."